Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video I'm going to kind of continue going down the path of looking at fixing some issues on our floppy drives. Specifically in this case I'm still looking at the Qumetrak, but a lot of this probably applies to similar, where you have a mechanical spindle. And I had recently learned how to kind of take the drive out a little bit further and get it spinning really well, and I guess there are some others who are kind of curious how exactly to go about that. So this video I'm going to go about how to actually get this drive apart further so that you can actually oil the bearings that are inside here better. I've got a couple of drives that are pretty gummed up. And again, you really only need like a drop of oil at best. You're really just trying to get the lubrication, the grease that's in there, like kind of re-loosened up again. So we're not looking to like totally oil it so that there's enough oil that it flies everywhere, but just enough to get it going again, and so that it is operating smoothly again. So today we'll go over how to do that a little bit.
So here we have the drive on my workbench, and I guess I'll go ahead and show you kind of how to do some of this. This is a method I've kind of been using. I'm sure there are other ways to do this, and some of this you may not need to do all of this, but this is what I've been doing lately. As far as tools I'm using, we've got some oil here that I'm using for these drives. You don't need much at all in there. I'm sure there are other oils you can use. This is just one I had recommended to me. If you're going to be taking off this top spindle here, you're going to need an E-clip tool. In this case, you can see on the camera, there's a little bit of a notch in there that kind of makes it fit on there. I'll show you in just a minute, but this makes taking these clips on and off a bit easier. You can do it without, but there's going to be a lot of frustration. I'm going to end up using a screwdriver to help get the back spindle off, a Q-tip to help apply oil, and also a hammer and a nail set, which I'm going to use help to get this lower spindle out as well. So first off, I guess we can just kind of go over the basic board. So again, this is the Qumetrak drive. This connector may look different on yours. That's no big deal. Your adjustment for the RPM is this guy right here. Typically, you don't need to mess with these. At least I've never had much. The biggest problem I had with one drive, which I have a previous video on, is when the iron core inside the for the tachometer up here, which is right underneath this cap, came loose from the plastic that was holding it, and so it was actually not registering a constant speed because the cast iron, or the iron, I'm sorry, not cast iron, but the iron core in there was spinning differently than the spindle speed, which made it impossible to control the speed. So again, if you need to get in there, there's two screws there. You can, if you're careful, you can get in there without having to disconnect and undo these wires and stuff. It's just be careful. And yeah. So first off, we're going to go ahead and take off this top spindle here. So again, if you don't have a tool for this, I'd recommend being careful to catch that thing, because these E-clips, they go flying. Here I'm just going to kind of, to make my life a little easier, I'm going to go ahead and force it in the down position just so that I can get underneath it a little bit easier here. And we'll just kind of push on it and pop that off. That was pretty lucky there. Usually this top one doesn't really need anything, but it makes getting the bottom part out a lot easier. So we'll just go ahead and remove it. I guess we'll go ahead and do that one first. So there's not much in here. There's just a spring. There's another clip on there, which I completely forgot about, which I don't know that this tool is going to be able to get in there to get that out, unfortunately. Can try it upside down and see. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay. So like I said, this is a 4mm E-clip tool that I'm using for this, and it seems to work on this particular drive. This one I have has got multiples in it. You can find them all over the place, but yeah. So just so you can see kind of how it came apart, in case somebody loses how it came apart and needs to figure it out again. Yeah, so the spring was on top. And then this kind of spindle part in here goes through the whole thing. And then you've got another spring inside the plastic part, and this is the part that actually contacts the disc. And then here is the bearing. So we're just going to kind of push that out. And it's a pretty basic bearing. again, with the oiling here, this one doesn't really need much at all, and this one makes me the most nervous because it is above. It's actually above the drive. So if you get too much oil in here, it will leak down onto your disk, and because it's spinning, it's going to get all over everything. So I would do as little as you, basically as small amount as you can get out of the thing. In fact, I'll say most of the time, I haven't really needed to do anything with these. And then I'm just going to kind of work it by hand for a minute. And then I'll just wipe off some excess just in case there is any. Like I said, I really don't want to contaminate anything here if we start putting a disk drive back in here again. And then we put it back together. So this time I'm actually going to put it, I mean, if you put the bearing side up, it can get dust in it. But I'm kind of more worried about, honestly, oil getting on my disk, so I'm going to put it in up the reverse way this time. So I'm actually going to put that side up. And we'll go ahead and put this back on, and we'll get out my tool here again. This might be a little bit harder to get on because it is so tight. This might not go on as easily. Normally you would put it inside here and kind of set it on this little tray that's kind of in there, but it may fight me on that. But we'll try. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. This is probably the hardest part of the whole thing, is just trying to get these on there. I'll try it upside down again. Again, be careful not to push it into your finger or anything like that. It's pretty easy to have it slip there. So there you go. Like I said, the bearings are open there. It's not my favorite, but I'm more worried about the oil getting on the disc than anything else, so I'd rather have it facing up. You could always find another bearing if you had to. Another thing with these E-clips is make sure that that middle clip is actually in the groove. Sometimes it looks like it's on, but it's not quite. So just try to make sure that it's all the way in there. All right, so we're going to set that aside for right now. All right. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take off the bottom spindle now. So. Yeah, so for this, take the belt off. It's pretty easy. Just kind of grab it and I just kind of pull around, just pull it up gently. It comes off. And as a reminder, if you're not going to have a drive in use for a while, go ahead and take the belt off. These things get deformed with age and stretch. So these are, I can't really get these anymore. You can use, there are ones that are kind of rubber that kind of work. I've had mixed success with those. Another thing, just real briefly, you can do if you're having a tension problem is you can undo these two screws right over here, this one and this one, on the motor here, and move the motors just a touch away from here. It'll help increase the tension, and that's about it. So the next thing we want to do is get this spindle off. Usually I found you can wiggle these off, but it doesn't work that well. Or I could be here for 10 minutes doing this. If you're having trouble getting it off, what I kind of do is I stick a screwdriver under here and just kind of gently kind of try to start rotating and just turning it up just a little bit. You're just going a little bit. I don't want to bend this thing. Not that I think it would impact the drive speed at all. It's just, I don't want to damage it. So you can see I wasn't able to get my screwdriver under here before, but now I can. So you can kind of see we just kind of keep working it. Eventually you'll probably get to a point where you can just wiggle it by hand. But oh, and I didn't show this too. So this drive is, it's not too bad. But you can see it spins for a little bit after you're done. It's not horrible. I've got some that are worse, but it can be better. So again, we just keep doing this until we get it off, and that's it. All right, now next part, you can see we've got one of the bearings there, and you can see actually this one, this spindle actually is pushing out on its own. Sometimes you might have to use this to get this out, in which case you'd kind of push this on here. This one's just pushing out, but if you have to do that, you can just kind of lightly tap. We're not using the hammer here to take out your frustration or any anger you may have. This is just to get this out. So you can kind of see it's kind of come up, And getting it out's the easy part. Getting it in is kind of a pain. It looks like the circuit board on this one might give me trouble, so we're going to have to take a diversion into getting the circuit board off. Alright, well, okay, so to get the circuit board off, go ahead and remove all the connectors. Nothing special about this. This one is the one that usually gives me trouble because it's just, the wires are so tight and yeah, it does not like to come off. Sometimes I'll get it started a little bit, and if I can get my screwdriver kind of in there to start spreading it for me a little bit, which it's not really doing this time. And if you're gonna put deoxide on the pins or anything like that, now of course would be a good time to do that. Oh, this is one of the more stubborn ones I've seen. That's what happens when they sit for long periods, especially if they're sitting in a non-conditioned environment or something. They'll just get a little sticky and corroded. Okay, so those are the 3 ones you have to get off here, and then the remaining part is you've got a screw here. One screw over here holding it down, and then there's another screw on this transistor over there holding it down. Okay. Alright, and then just be careful because the LED goes through the front, so just make sure you don't bend it too much. And that is just a flat head. Now, this one has a nylon screw, and there's also, if you notice on the transistor, there's a little pad on there, isolation pad on there, so just make sure you don't lose anything. Sometimes what I'll do, actually, and I think in this case I'm going to, in order to not have to mess with that, I just remove the screw that's holding this metal bracket on. As a word of caution, don't make the mistake I did one time and not pay attention and accidentally unscrew this one. This is the track 0 sensor. You're going to knock it out of calibration if you do that. It's fixable. It's just don't do it. Pay attention to which one you're doing. So yeah, this screw right here. And this will just remove that whole thing. And then you don't have to mess with that thermal pad on there or anything, or the isolation pad or anything like that. It's still intact. So you can see that's still intact there. I didn't have to mess with it, and the whole board comes off. So we'll just set that aside. Okay, now let's see if we can get it all the way out. Takes a little bit of finagling to kind of get it around here. This one may actually give me a little bit of trouble. You kind of have to just keep working it. And don't worry, getting it out's the easier part. Getting it in is a pain. There we go. Got it out. So you can see it's just a just a spindle with a metal rod pushed through it. You could probably knock that out, but there's no reason to, so don't mess with it. All right, so now I have access to bearings. Now I have to remember how to get these out. Because they are pressed in, so let's see if I can coax one of them to come out gently. Nope. I'm trying to get right on the space between the two of them so that I can convince it to come out. There we go. Yeah, the first one's the harder one to get out, and then of course the other one is a little bit easier. Oh, this has a little bit of a spring locker in here, lock washer and kind of thing in here. All right. Okay, so this was on the bottom, that was on top, and then yeah. So we have access to the bearing now. Now, yeah, this bearing does not feel good at all. I think on some of my other ones I've had these actually be open. In this case, it is not. So we're just going to have to see what we can do here. This is at least on the bottom part of the drive, so probably not as big a concern, but yeah, unfortunately it is sealed on both sides, so we're just gonna have to do our best to get oil in here. And so basically I just put some oil on over the seal and just spinning it by hand. Just hoping some of that will kind of seep in there. I don't have any tools or anything to take these things apart. Presumably you could also, here, I'm just going to actually just set it down and let the oil kind of soak in there. We're going to have to be real good when we're done with this too, to try to get all the excess oil off the outside, but the objective is we want to get some of the oil on the inside. So alright, here I'll try to gently tap this out again, and we don't want to damage the bearing. If you put too much pressure on them, they will, you will damage them, so we don't want to do that. So, alright, let's set this aside for a moment. Okay. Alright, this one actually has a flange on it, so that's kind of interesting. Probably could have pushed them both out through the top by the looks of this, because this is the one that's kind of stopping it. So I'm gonna go to put, yeah, either way. But just make sure that this, in this particular case, just put them back in the way you took them out, in case there's differences in different drives. And just get some oil on there. And you can put it on both sides, it's fine. What we're trying to do is get it to soak into it some, so it gets past the kind of the shield there for the dust. And just kind of feel how it is. It'll be a little rough at first. And then hopefully as you do this, you'll feel that it starts to loosen up a little bit. You can also loosen these things up just by spinning the drive itself, but this is how you do it completely if you really want to take it completely apart. Okay. And I'm going to clean it up a little bit, try to get any of the excess off the outside of it. Just using a plain old paper towel here. Yeah, I don't know how much got in there. But, I mean, this is the basic idea. If you want to sit with it longer and try to get more of it in, or maybe even soak it in oil, probably would work. Don't really try to get the old grease out or anything out. It's more just trying to get some lubrication in there to get it not, the grease dries out a little bit over time, and you're just trying to get them lubed up and smooth rolling again. Alright, so let me clean up here a little bit, and then we'll put these back in. Like I said, if you really want to go at it, if it's really stuck, just spend some time with it. Just spend some time getting some grease back, or some oil, excuse me, back in there, and it'll probably come back to life for you. So yeah, as I see now, as I took it apart, I could have just gently tapped on the bottom side of the drive to push both of them up through the top instead of doing it the way I did. But I was just trying to get it going. So, like I said, as long as you aren't too rough on it, it should be okay. But of course, you do not want to break these bearings, push these bearings or get them askew. You do want the drive to spin smoothly. So, I won't say that it's not a precision thing, but alright. So the fun part now is trying to get these back in. That one the press fit in pretty easy. If you need to, again, you can tap it in, and then we'll put these back in there. I can tell you that middle one's probably going to make it fun to get through. Actually, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to do it a little differently this time than how I normally do it. I'm going to put the spindle in now, while there's only one bearing to deal with, because it is a little challenging sometimes to get these through, especially trying to get this first part started, because it's hard to get it. If you saw how it's kind of tight, And this arm is kind of in the way, but I also don't want to mess with removing that and having to deal with all that. So just take your time with it, and then, yeah, just line it up. It'll go in. Alright, now put this washer back in. And again, make sure that I've got everything off here. I mean, this is the downside of the drive. As long as the drive isn't upside down, I'm not as worried about this. Granted, if you've got another drive below it, maybe you should be. But yeah, just do your best to clean it up. And usually I look for anything after I've been running it for a little bit too. Alright, so there we go. Push this one in, and this one's actually going in pretty easy. Sometimes these will fight you a lot more than that. And you may have to tap them into place. This one really didn't give me much trouble at all. Alright, and then last is to get this back on. So this is just a case of, I'm just pushing them on the bottom side, I'm just pushing my finger up into it. And then you just wiggle this back on. Which is a little tricky because, of course, they're fighting against each other right now. I've got some slop because I want them both to be in at the same time. I don't really have I don't have a good way to apply pressure while I'm doing this. So I'm just going to gently tap this on. Not so much force here as I'm just trying to get it to, it'll move just a little bit each time you tap gently. I'm really barely tapping it. It may sound worse than it is. I'm just kind of trying to hit it as bluntly as I can. Oh, there we go. It was still not quite all the way on there. Okay. So, but you can see right now is that little bit of oiling. Now when I spin it, it keeps going for quite a while. So again, we'll just trying to get it flush there. So once I start hitting that top part, yeah, this thing keeps pushing up on me, but yeah, this one's giving me a little bit of trouble. So it's just hard because when I strike it with the hammer, the parts aren't necessarily moving the way I want to. So the spindle is moving down instead of this the thing with the markings on here. And if you don't know that the markings on here are just for if you're in the US and have 60 hertz power, or in the UK have 50 hertz, etc. When you spin the drive, the pattern should look like it's not moving when the drive is rotating. That's how you check the RPM on these. It's pretty rudimentary, but it works pretty nicely. Okay, I think it's on there pretty good now. Try to make sure. I'm trying to get this nice and flat. But apparently not so flat that apparently I'm getting it tight enough now that it's actually sliding a little bit. There we go. Okay, so okay. Alright, and let me go get some alcohol and I'll be right back. Alright, so the next part is, because I had some oil on my hands and everything else, and I should have cleaned my hands honestly before I started putting it back together a little bit, before I start getting oil all over everything. But yeah, I'm just going to take some alcohol here and wipe things down just to try to make sure I don't leave anything on here. Try to get it off my fingers just so I don't keep adding it as I'm trying to remove it. Clean up the edge here, of course, in particular. That's where your belt is going to be, so you want to get that, make sure that's nice and clean. You can clean this one over here too while you're at it if you want. The actual motor. And now on the other side, I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything on this part. So again, this physically contacts the disc, so we do not want anything on there. Just the outside of it, I'm just cleaning inside because I can. Okay. I've heard of some people actually, apparently one of my friends actually had this drift on him, so while you're under here, make sure this clip hasn't drifted over into your, in the particular case he had, it had actually drifted into the way of the head movement mechanism here. It was actually bumping into that screw there and causing some problems. So if you have the board off, go ahead and make sure that's not happening. Let's see how it is now. So still, I mean, it spins pretty freely. It's a little bit better than before. Like I said, if you spend more time with it, you can make it spin. I've got some that'll spin for like 10 plus seconds afterwards. While I'm at it, I'll go ahead and put the belt on the bottom. So hook the motor side first. The way I usually do it is just kind of put the belt on one side of the drive here and just kind of hold it there while you turn the drive around one time, and it'll just go into place. And that's it. It's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and do this top one now. And we are almost done. Like I said, this one is a little easier to do if you actually let the drive mechanism go down. So I will go ahead and do that. So I'm just releasing the latch so that I can turn it down without a disc in there. That way I can just push down on it just a little bit to get this last clamp back on. Like I said, these tools are great for not having these fly around all over the place. If you don't have one, you can definitely get them off without the tool. Getting them on is a whole nother exercise and frustration. I'll show you in just a second. So yeah, we're just going to push it on there, and we just make sure that center one was on there, and that's it. So if you have to do it with, if you have to take these E-clips off without a screw, get a small screwdriver that'll fit inside there. This one's obviously too big, but if you get one that's like half the size, you want two of them. And you're just going to kind of twist them so that it pushes this middle part out, just gently. And then at some point, it's going to go flying, so be ready to catch it or see where it goes. I don't advise doing it over carpeting. All right, so while we've got the board off, now's a good time to clean. We're going to clean these railings here. So I've actually got really good access to them right now. I not plan to do it that way, but so what I'm going to do here is just get a little bit of alcohol on my Q-tip as soon as I get some out of here. Because I just want to clean them first. So I probably got a little bit too much on there. You don't need much, just enough to, you're just wiping the dirt off basically. We'll see how bad. It has a little bit on there. Usually the symptoms of this needing to be done are that you get a little bit of head chatter or chatter when this thing slides. I know some people have had more problems. I have not had many problems with it, but I still do this just to avoid it. Sometimes they can get pretty noisy. Be careful not to push down on this. Of course, this is the head mechanism, or pushing down on this while it's closed. I don't want to put any pressure on the heads. In fact, I probably should recommend to just go ahead and let it open up while you're doing this. I tend to pull the drive just by pulling on this little thing right here gently. Whatever it is, just be gentle. You do not want to send that out of alignment. Then we're talking a whole nother discussion on how you fix that, which I have not had to do yet, fortunately. Alright, so yeah, you can see it's a bit dirty. It's alright though. Okay, now that's enough for the alcohol. So now what I'm going to do is take, well, I would probably use a different Q-tip, except I only have one right now. I'm going to put some oil on the Q-tip. If you want to go lint-free, you can, but yeah, just put a drop on there, enough to kind of soak on a little bit. I'm not going for much. A little too much there. Just want just a little bit of a layer on there. That's about it. Top, bottom, it's whatever you can reach. Okay. And I will wipe some excess off here and just try to make sure I don't have any excess. If I can avoid it. So, and if one is really sticky, you can kind of tell when you move it how free it's getting. I mean, this is offering me very little resistance to moving, which is the way I want it. So, all right, and now we are almost done. We just have to get it back together again. You can see this. This has springs on it and stuff, so it doesn't really look like it's spinning, but it works just fine. Try it back down again, see if that. I've got the whole motor engaged in it now, of course, so kind of hard to show, but that'll be fine. And lastly, we just have to put all this back together again. So just push these out of the way. Usually put the LED in first. Again, careful not to push it around so as not to bend that. And there we go. I will just gently put this one screw in. And I'll put this one on the bottom. Like I said, this is just the easier way I found to do this rather than messing with that the nylon screws and getting it back together again is a pain. This is actually much easier. Unfortunately, my screwdriver is not magnetic. It's not helping me get this in. So yeah, go ahead and tighten this down. Again, be careful what screws you mess with. Pretty much all the other ones except these two are sensitive. These two are, like I said, for the motor. You can make that motor connection tighter or the belt tension higher if you need to just by undoing those. But pretty much don't touch any of the other ones. Unless you'd like a whole nother exercise in fun. Alright, I'll put all these back in. I'll probably go ahead and I might go ahead and put some deoxit on these, honestly, so I'll do that. I don't have it with me, but I will do that in just a minute. But yeah, that's basically it. Put it back together and should have a good drive. Again, don't forget to check for shorted tantalums. One of my other videos I talked about it. Check the 5 and 12. Usually it's on the 12, and there'll be 3 tantalums. I don't know if I recall offhand. I think that one, possibly this one right here. And there's one at the I think this guy right here, or the 3 that are on the 12 volt side. They're the ones that are apt to go bad because they're probably 16 volt on the 12 volt line, which isn't enough. They should be 2 to 2.5 times the voltage. Anyway, that's it. So hopefully you found this useful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns about anything you saw. And good luck.